Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalam ala nabiyyina al-amin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een wa ala man tamassaka bi sunnatihi bi ihsanin ila yawm ad-din, amma ba'du. Fa inna asdaq al-hadith kitabullah ta'ala wa khayr al-huda huda nabiyyina salawatullahi wassalamuhu alayhi wa shar al-umur muhdathatuha وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In our last class concerning the Ahkam al-Nisa, we dealt with some of the issues concerning the virtues of the hijab of the Muslim woman and what was the muqtada of the Muslim woman wearing the hijab. What are the results of that, and what does it mean, and what does it imply? During the question and answer time, there were quite a few issues that were raised concerning the conditions of the hijab, and we told the questioners that we would do that as a second part of this particular class, because the hijab in al-Islam, ikhwani, is not left open to the interpretation of any particular individual or any particular group of people or their culture. The hijab in al-Islam is what has been defined and explained to us by the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam and the ulama of this ummah. So concerning the conditions of the hijab, you can read different books where the scholars past and present will give you a number of conditions or shurut, many, 8, 9, 10, some people say 15, 20. But for the most part, the main conditions, they center around 7 shurut. And before sharing those conditions with you, we just like to make mention of a point in the fiqh of al-Islam. Akramakallah, jazakallahu khairan. Concerning the conditions in this religion, ikhwani, many people, they make a lot of conditions. Some people say the shurut of as-salat, the conditions of salat, they are this and that and this and that. The conditions to wipe over your khuf or over your socks, and people give you certain conditions. You have to be able to walk in it 1 mile. It can't have any holes in it. Muslims have given us a lot of conditions in the religion, but we want to make this point very clear, point of information and knowledge that will help you to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala bayyina wa ala basira, and it makes things easy for you in your religion. Concerning the conditions that you may read in the books of fiqh or that you may hear from different people who are talking and teaching, the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, in an authentic hadith that's been collected by the Imam al-Bazzar in his Musnad rahimahullah ta'ala, Abdullah ibn Abbas said that the Prophet told us sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, kullu shartin laysa fi kitabillahi fahuwa batil wa in kana mi'ata shart. Every single condition that is not in the book of Allah, it is rejected, even if it is 100 conditions. Every condition that people come up with that you don't find a dalil from the Quran and the Sunnah for that particular condition, then it is rejected. And you don't have to believe in it, and you don't have to follow it. So if someone came up and said, in order for you to wipe on your khufs, the leather socks, or in order for you to wipe on your socks that you're wearing that are made out of wool, in order to be able to do that, a condition is it can't have any holes in it. Another condition that the people give is that you must be able to walk 1 mile in it or 2 miles. If people cannot support the proofs and the evidences to show that those are conditions, then they are not to be accepted, they are rejected. Similarly, the conditions of the hijab. In order to claim that something is a condition, a shart, you have to bring the dalil. And that's what we're going to do inshallah, either from the Quran or the Sunnah, or from the Quran and the Sunnah ma'ah. So from those conditions concerning the hijab of the Muslim woman that the ulama of al-Islam are in agreement upon is that the hijab itself cannot be the type of cloth or clothing that invites people, because in it there is zina in the hijab itself. Now we have the DKNY hijab, we have designer hijab. And the designer hijab, it has different material and different things that are on the hijab of the woman that are causing people to look at her in her hijab. That's defeating the purpose of the hijab in the first place. The purpose of the hijab is to cover up the woman and to cause people not to look at her and for her not to draw attention to herself. So the hijab that has a color or texture or style, the way the girl is wearing the hijab, it is beautiful and beautification in and of itself, then she has defeated the purpose of the hijab. So the first condition of the hijab of the woman is that it has to be plain, and it cannot be the type of material that is decorative and it invites people to look at her. It causes the eyes to pay attention to her. From the many adillah or proofs for that is what Allah mentioned in the Quran when He said to the believing women, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجُ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. Oh, you women, you Muslim women, stay in your homes, remain in your homes, and do not make the display of the times of al-Jahiliyyah. So what the people used to do during the times of al-Jahiliyyah is that the woman would wear clothes that caused the men in the street to look at her. She used to wear on her feet, on her ankle, bracelets that she would walk with, and because of that, the people will hear every time she takes a step, her bracelets or her anklets will make a sound, her bangles will make a sound. So the men looked at her walking down the street. So that ayat of the Quran was revealed telling the Muslim women not to make the display of the times of the people of al-Jahiliyyah by wearing clothes that will attract the attention of men. Another ayat, and there are many adillah for this particular point, is the statement of Allah Ta'ala, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. Tell the believing women that what they should do is they should not allow their zina to appear. They should not allow their beauty to appear except what must normally appear. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu in an authentic athar said, what must normally appear is the one eye. So the scholars have different interpretations as to what must normally appear. What does it mean? But the point of the verse and the proof of the verse is وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. Do not allow the women to make a display of their beauty. So the hijab shouldn't be a display of beauty in the first place. If it is in fact defeating the purpose. So that's the first condition as it relates to the thob or the jilbab, the hijab, the khimar, the niqab, all of that. As it relates to the Muslim woman, it has to be adi. It cannot be decorative, and it can't be something that is causing people to pay attention to her. The second condition from the 7 that we're going to deal with here in our dars is that the clothes of the Muslim women, the hijab of the Muslim girl, should not and it cannot have any perfume in it. Should not and it cannot have any perfume in it. Imam al-Dhahabi, and we're going to take this inshallah, in his Kitab al-Kaba'ir, he said, and from what will cause the woman to be punished Yawm al-Qiyamah and enter into the hellfire is for her to wear the clothes that are beautiful within themselves and they have perfume in it, inviting and calling people to smell and to take a whiff from what she has beautified herself with. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in proving that this is a condition, that it is impermissible for the Muslim woman to go outside of her house with clothes that have perfume on them or in them. أيما امرأة استعطرت ثم خرجت من بيتها فمرت على قوم حتى يجدوا ريحها فهي الزانية. Any woman who leaves her house, any woman who puts perfume on and then she leaves her house and she passes by a group of people with the intent حتى يجدوا ريحها, with the intent to let them smell her fragrance, then that woman is a fornicator. She is a zaniya. So that's a kabira from the kaba'ir. But that doesn't mean the zina where she is flogged, nor does it mean the zina where she loses her life if she's a woman who has been married in al-Islam. So any woman who leaves a house and in her clothes there is the smell of perfume, then this is a kabira from the kaba'ir. The clothes cannot have the smell of perfume on them or in them. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu was on his way to the masjid, as Al-Imam Abu Dawood and At-Tirmidhi have collected this authentic athar and this hadith. The lady was on her way to the masjid, and Abu Hurairah, the alim, the sheikh, he smelled from that lady some perfume coming from her. He asked that lady, which goes to show, ikhwan, the people during that time were more righteous than the people during this time, but they still made some mistakes. So it's possible that a girl from our time may make this mistake out of ignorance. So we have to give dawah and teach in a way that's nice. Abu Hurairah asked her, did you put the perfume on for the sole purpose of going to the masjid? One of us takes a shower, takes a ghusl, and he wants to feel good when he makes the salah, so he puts some itr on. The lady said, yes, that's why I did it. He said, go back and wash it off. Because I heard the Prophet say, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, أيما امرأة تطيبت ثم خرجت إلى المسجد لم تقبل لها الصلاة حتى تغتسل. Any woman who puts on perfume and then she leaves her home with the intent, the purpose of going to the masjid, Allah will not accept her salat until she washes it off. Until she washes it off. So she cannot come to the masjid with any perfume in her clothes or on her clothes. And perfume, ikhwani, it can be the perfume that's in the bottle, and it can be her underarm deodorant, it can be baby powder, it can be anything that has a smell, that gives off a smell that people can smell. It can be the duhn, or the oil that the women put in their hair that has a smell. Anything that will cause that woman to leave a smell behind when she passes by, if she comes out like that with the intent of going to the masjid, then Rasulullah described that sallallahu alaihi wasallam as being a zaniya. In another hadith, to go to prove that perfume is just not the perfume that you put on your body with the oil, is that he says sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, أيما امرأة أصابت بخورا فلا تشهد معنا العشاء الأخيرة. Any woman who put bakhur, who put incense, she burnt the bakhur. When you burn the coal and then you put on top of the coal the bakhur, the wood that sends off the smell, oud, or other than that. Many of our women, when they get married, one of the things from the culture is that the women come together and they make that bakhur for them. Anyone who puts that on her body and her clothes and then she goes out, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then this woman is not allowed to participate in the salat of al-isha. There's a point that I want to make, ikhwani, in addition to what we mentioned concerning the perfume. The perfume for the woman, it can be, as we mentioned, it can be strong underarm deodorant. It can be the oil that she put in her hair. It can be the liquid perfume that we know about. Or it can be the bakhur. It can be the incense that come from the smoke. There are some people who say, if the woman were to get in a car and her husband drove her to the masjid, and no man were to get an opportunity to smell her, and it was sure no man would smell her. She leaves her house, she gets right into the car. No man is going to smell her by the door of her home. No non-mahram man is with her in the car. And then she comes to the masjid and she parks by the door for the entrance for the women, and she comes in and no man smells her. Some people said that this is permissible for this individual to wear the perfume, to wear the bakhur, because her intent was not to cause men to smell her. This is a dangerous and a faulty understanding, because in the majority of the hadith that prohibit women from wearing perfume when they go out, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam only mentioned in a few hadith, if she does this and she passed by men so that they can smell her, only a few hadith say that. But the majority of the hadith don't mention that. The majority of the hadith say any woman who left and she has perfume on, then she's a zaniya. Any woman who left and she has perfume on, then don't pray the isha, and so forth and so on. So even if she's quite sure a man is not going to smell her, it's still not permissible because she never knows what's going to happen when she leaves her home. Maybe she can get into a car accident. Maybe something happens that is beyond her ability to prevent it, and then as a result of that, other men come into her area, her private area, and then as such, they smell the bukhur. As it relates to number 4 and number 5, conditions number 4 and number 5 from the Kitab and the Sunnah, they have something to do with a tashbih or resembling. So number 4, from the conditions of the hijab of the mar'at al-muslima, the correct hijab, is that the Muslim woman should not resemble the man in her hijab. The Muslim woman should not resemble the man in her hijab. Her hijab should be distinct and it should be feminine. For the woman to wear a suit with a tie and she carries a briefcase, that's haram in the religion of Islam. And it's a kabira from the kaba'ir. For the Muslim woman to put on a 3-piece suit with a tie and a briefcase, that's haram in the religion of Islam. It's not permissible. She puts on that clothing, and she's making the tashbih with the rijal. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, la'anna Allah al-mutarajjilat min al-nisa bir-rijal. Or la'anna Allah al-mutarajjilat min al-nisa. May Allah curse those women who act like men, who resemble men. They resemble men in the way they dress, they resemble men in the way they talk, they resemble men in the way that they act. That is a far-reaching and far-encompassing hadith. It's just not in the dress. The woman who wants to be the boss, the woman who wants to run the show, the woman who's very aggressive, she's from the mutarajjilat min al-nisa. And the word mutarajjil, the word rajil, or the man is in that word. The woman who is very manly, and she takes on the characteristics of the men. Another hadith, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he cursed them, la'anna Allahu al-mutashabbihati min al-nisa'i bir-rijal wal-mutashabbihina min al-rijali min nisa. May Allah curse those women who resemble the men, and may Allah curse those men who resemble the women, the mutakhannithin, those men who are effeminate. So he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, cursed them. It's not permissible for the woman to dress like a man. He said, "Laysa minna man tashabbaha birrijali min an-nisa." Those women are not from us who resemble men in their dress. And that can mean one or two things. If the woman believes it's permissible for her to dress like a man and she thinks that that's halal in the religion, and she rejects the hadith that says it's impermissible, then she's not from this ummah because she has disbelieved in Allah. She disbelieved in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She's denied what Rasulullah said, so that's takdeeb. She's a kafira. The second meaning is she's not from us, meaning she's not from the religious Muslims, those believing women who don't act and take on the characteristics of the rijal. And that's usually the case with the majority of the people. We don't take those hadith where it says he is not from us, the one who does this or the one who does that, and then that person says, because the hadith said you're not from us, that one who's not doing that particular thing is outside of the religion. If that's how we were going to understand the text in Islam, then many people will be outside of the fold of Islam. Laysa minna man la yutir. He is not from us, the one who doesn't pray the witr prayer. Can someone take that hadith and say, because you don't pray witr, you are kafir? La. Kalla. Doesn't mean that. It means that you're not from those people who are the righteous people who take care of and pay attention to the salatul witr. You won't be from those people, Yawm al-Qiyamah, who will be raised up, taking care of the salat of al-witr. But if a person says the witr prayer is nonsense and it's a waste of time and it really is not in the religion and he rejects it, then he becomes a disbeliever. He's not from us because he disbelieved in what Rasulullah has said, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. So he cursed those women who resemble the men, and he freed himself from those women who they make the tashabbih or they resemble the men. Number 4, the second resemblance, ikhwani, concerning the women's dress, is that the women They cannot resemble the non-Muslims, the kafir women. But before I go into that, before I forget, some of the major scholars in this religion, Ikhwani, past and present, they said as it relates to the women resembling men, that it is not permissible for women to wear the sirwal, the pants. Some of the major scholars in Al-Islam, Al-Imam Ahmed, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i, the four Imams in Al-Islam were of the opinion that the Muslim woman should not wear the sirwal, pants. Even if they happen to be baggy pants, like the sirwal al-khamis pants. That's the position of some of the ulama. Some of them are easier as it relates to the baggy sirwal khamis pants. But as it relates to jeans, as it relates to the pants that men wear, similar to jeans, corduroys, khakis, pants like that, then the ulama of Islam, the majority of them, the jumhur of the ulama, are of the opinion that for a woman to wear pants is similar to her resembling the men. So pants should be avoided. They should wear dresses, skirts under their jilbab. They should wear those things and the pants shouldn't be worn. And Allahu Ta'ala A'lam. As it relates to making the tashbih with the kuffar, من تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. Whoever resembles a group of people, he is from those group of people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned a number of ayat in the Quran when He told the Muslims not to be like the kuffar. وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالْمُشْرِكِينَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. Don't be like the mushrikeen, those people who split up into different groups as it relates to their religion. وَلَا يَكُونُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِ فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Do not be like those people who were given the book before from Ahlul Kitab, and because Allah allowed them to live a long time, they thought they had a long time to go and their hearts became harder. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala wrote a book, and in that book, the book was dealing exclusively with the evil of resembling the kuffar. Iqtida as-sirat al-mustaqim mukhalifatan li ashab al-jahim. Being different from the people of the hellfire. The book is solely dedicated to the importance of the Muslim being different from the mushrikeen in his dress, in his behavior, in his speech, in his etiquettes, in his culture, where he lives, how he lives. He said concerning these verses, and don't be like them, whatever Allah said, don't be like them, He said it is warning us to be like them in those particular things that Allah mentioned in that ayah, like don't be like the mushrikeen and divide your religion. Don't be like the Ahlul Kitab and allowing your hearts to become hard. Don't be like them in whatever is being mentioned in that particular verse, but it also means don't be like them in the way you live your life, in the way that you dress, and other than that. So it is not permissible, ikhwani, for the Muslim woman or the Muslim man for that woman, for that matter, to make the tashbih with the non-Muslim women, the non-Muslims. It is a kibira from the kaba'ir in al-Islam. From the conditions, ikhwani, is that number 5, her dress cannot be the dress of shuhra. No one, men or women, can wear the dress of a shuhra. And the dress of shuhra, when she puts on the hijab or the jilbab of a shuhra, or the man wears clothes for a shuhra. Shuhra means to do something so that you become known, famous. You cause people's attention to turn to you. It's permissible for you to wear nice clothes. That's permissible. To wear thobes or trainers, or to have a car that no one else has. As long as you can afford it, it's permissible. Allah loves to see His ni'mah, His favor upon His servants. He loves that. So you want to buy a thobe that no one else has that thobe, that's permissible. As long as your intent is not to act as if you're better than other people and to make people look at you, to say, ooh, look at that. And a shuhra, it can be in the color. Someone chooses a pink thobe. He only wears pink thobes. So he wants to be known as the man who wears the pink thobes. He has pink shoes, pink socks, a pink thobe, a pink kufi. And he wants to be known by that. So it can be in the color, a strange color that someone has. In the middle of the street, all of the homes, they look basically the same, but he has a house that he painted green, vomit green. So he wants to stand out. He has the greenhouse on the block. That's not permissible in the deen. He told us, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, man labisa thawba shuhra albasahu Allahu ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah thawban mithluhu thumma yulhibu fihi nar. Anyone who wears the clothes, the thobe, to be well known, to be looked at, the thobe of shuhra, Allah will cause him to wear a thobe similar to it yawm al-qiyamah, and then Allah will put fire in that thobe. He'll be burning in that fire. In another hadith, he said Allah will cause him to wear a thobe of lowliness yawm al-qiyamah. So the shuhra can be in the color, and it can be in the texture of the thobe as well. A person wears a thobe, and it's an expensive thobe. It's of expensive material, so that the people would think that that individual is extremely rich. Or it can be opposite of expensive. It can be extremely cheap. He wants to show the people that he is a zahid, like the people of a tasawwuf. In the past, it would be the summertime, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Celsius. The person is wearing clothes made out of wool, coarse, heavy clothes, so that when the people see him, they say, this is a zahid in the dunya. That's a riya. A man, he wears the hat of the Afghani people. He wears the hat of the Afghani people, not to keep his head warm, not because he's Afghani, but he wants the people, when they see that hat, to identify him and to connect him to jihad. He's the mujahid. All of that is from the thiyab of a shuhra. As for the individual who likes the Afghani hat, he can wear the Afghani hat. There's nothing wrong with that. He has the money to buy an expensive thobe, nothing is wrong with that. You just have to purify your niyyah. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he told us that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam told the people that anyone who has an atom's weight of kibr or arrogance in his heart, he won't enter into the paradise. When the man heard that, he said, Ya Rasulullah, you know, we like, as people, we like to have nice shoes, we like to have nice thobes. I want a pair of shoes, no one else has the shoes that I have. And I want a thobe, no one else has a thobe that I have. So the Prophet was asked, is this arrogance? He said, this is not arrogance. Allah is beautiful and Allah loves beauty. Nothing is wrong with that. It is the niyyah, the niyyah. So the thobe of a shuhra is not permissible for that particular system. In addition to that, ikhwani, the thobe, it cannot be transparent. Number 6, if the girl is wearing a thobe and it's transparent, then she's defeating the purpose of the thobe. If the man or the woman wears clothing that happens to be transparent and it doesn't cover up the aura, then he has caused his salat to be rendered null and void. He makes sajda and his aura becomes apparent and is uncovered as a result of him not taking care of the situation. We're not talking about the wind blew and then the aura became exposed. We're talking about a person going into the salat and he didn't dress properly. If your aura becomes uncovered and exposed because of the taqseer from you, then your salat is null and void, because from the conditions of the salat is for the aura to be covered up. So we described some women from this ummah that were going to come at the end of time, and he said about them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in their description, kasiyat, ariyat. They are dressed, but they are undressed. Those women are dressed, but they are undressed. They wear the, what's that thing called that they wear? No, the Asian women, huh? Huh? What is it called? The barta. She has the khimar or the scarf, and she puts it around, but you can see through the scarf. Her hair can be seen through the scarf. That type of sit-in is permissible for her in her home. She's shy of her daughter's husband. She can sit with her hair exposed if she wants to in front of her daughter's husband, it's her son-in-law. But she has some haya. She wants to wear that see-through scarf on her head, that's permissible. But to come outside with the see-through scarf, she is dressed, but she is undressed. And also, in addition to her aura and her beauty being transparent, is the woman who she has clothes on and you don't see anything of her skin, but you see the contours and the shape of her body. You can see that she's extremely thin. You can see that she's plump, or other than that, you can see the shape of all of the aspects of her body. She's dressed, but she's naked, and that's not permissible. So that's the sixth condition based upon the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There will be two types of people who will come to my ummah. I haven't seen them yet. They weren't there during his time. He mentioned one of them, women who are dressed but they are naked. They won't smell the fragrance of the paradise, even though the paradise can be smelled from such and such a distance. Finally, number 8, ikhwani, number 8, concerning the conditions of the hijab of the Muslim woman, is that the hijab, the jilbab, has to be loose fitting. It has to be loose fitting. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam gave Abdullah bin Mas'ud a gift and told him to give it to his wife. And the gift was some clothing that he received from one of the leaders of that time. But the cloth of what was given was tight on his wife. And then the Prophet didn't allow her to wear it sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He came into the home of his wife Aisha radiyallahu anha, and her sister Asma had a see-through, transparent, tight-fitting clothing on, and he didn't allow it. So when the woman comes into contact with non-mahramin, her hijab has to be loose-fitting, and it cannot be tight, in accordance with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَيَضْرِبْنَا بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Let those women, when they put their khimars on, let them cause the khimar, or the head covering, to go below their bosoms, to fall below their bosoms. Aisha radiallahu anha said in the time of al-Jahiliyyah, the Arab women used to wear hijab. They used to wear the khimar, some of them. And they would tie it on their head, and they would let it go behind the back, and the necks were being exposed along with the hair. And they would tie the khimar tight on the head to let the men see the amount of hair that she had. And then this ayat was revealed telling them to allow the khimar to loosely fall over the bosom of the lady, so that no one would be given the opportunity to get an idea or an indication as to what her shape is or isn't like. So that's the last and final condition. There are other conditions, as we mentioned, but you're going to find that they're connected to one of the 7 that we have already mentioned. So we're going to stop here, inshallah. This class is with the last class about the virtue of the hijab of the al-mar'atu muslima. So if you brothers have any questions, inshallah, or comments concerning the hijab of the imra'a al-muslima, you can put them forth now. هل عندكم شيء؟ ما عندك شيء؟
Two questions. You know, in the hadith talks about perfumes being scented but colourless. And then for men, the quite scented perfume but colourless. What's today's colourful perfume but not scented?
In the Hajj of al-Islam, the sunnah before the man puts his ihram on is that he uses perfume, because once he goes into his ihram, he won't be able to clean himself with any scented materials He wouldn't be able to use soap and other things like that. He can't put perfume on until after he does what he was supposed to do, like performing the Umrah. And then he waits for the Hajj, and then he can make the Tamattu' and begin to enjoy the other things in the life. So the Prophet ﷺ told the men, when you put your ihram on, put perfume on that has a smell, but it doesn't have any color. And for the women, they should put the perfume on that has no smell and it has color. So what is this perfume today? The perfume for the man and the perfume for the woman as it relates to Hajj or other than that? I've been asking the same question for the last 20 years. Where is that perfume today that's colorless with a scent and the one that is scentless with a color? I haven't seen it yet. So Allahu A'la wa A'la. What's the second question?
Is it wrong to be a Zahid, and how do you strike a balance between being a Zahid and Riyah and trying to
There's nothing wrong with a person being a Zahid. As a matter of fact, everyone should make an effort to be a Zahid. That's the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Abdullah bin Umar narrated. Kun fi dunya ka'annaka 'abir as-sabil. Be in the dunya as if you're only a person who's crossing the street. If you're only going to cross the street, you're not going to try to carry with you and try to accumulate everything that you can carry and accumulate in the dunya. Be like a person who's on a journey and he goes under a tree and he sits to rest under the shade of the tree for a few minutes, and then he's going to get up and he's going to continue his journey. So that similitude is what the dunya should be like. This dunya is like the time you're going to take to sit under the tree. He told us sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, inna amamakum aqaba la yatajawazuha al-muthqilun. Verily in front of you people is a steep mountain, yawm al-qiyamah. Those people who have a lot of property, a lot of things that you have to be answerable for, you're not going to get over the mountain. So if you put all of the property that you own on your back, you're going to be questioned about everything yawm al-qiyamah. You're going to be questioned about your car. Did you get it? Paying the riba payments? How did you act? Did you think you were better than people? Your clothes, everything that you have, you're going to be questioned about how did you get it? So those people who have a lot, if you're going up a steep mountain, the gravity is going to pull you back because you have to be accountable for that. The less you have, the easier it is. So the masakin, the poor people, will enter into paradise 500 years before the agniya, the rich people. Why? Because the poor person, he doesn't have to answer for anything. All he has to answer for is one thobe, one pair of shoes, a miswak, and 2 kufis. That's all he has to answer for. So he'll enter into Jannah way before the agniya. So ikhwani, as we sit here right now, I think everyone here, and I may be the poorest from amongst you, Allahu alam, but I know if you go into my home and you open up my cabinets, my cupboards in the kitchen, there's a lot of food. And my wife has the nerve to say, we have to go shopping, we don't have any food. Let a poor person from, what's that place that's having the problems in Africa? Chad? No, Niger. Let one of those people who are catching mice, cutting mice up and eating mice. Let one of them come to the newly married Muslim man in our masjid right now, the shab. Let one of them come to his home and look at his nice bed, 2 bedrooms. It's only him and his wife, he has 2 bedrooms. Take a hot shower, hot bath, turn the heat on, turn the heat off. Go sit in the backyard. So those masakin and those fuqara, ikhwani, if you are from those people, we're not from the people who have a lot of money. Don't say, I wish I had £1 million. I wish I had 10 million pounds. All of my problems will go away. No, your problems begin. More money, more problems. That's what the famous person said. I'm not going to tell you who said that. More money, more problems. So, the one who has a zuhd in the dunya, like Abu Darda, like Abu Dhar al-Ghaffari from the companions, Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As, they had zuhd in the dunya. Sometimes they went overboard. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As used to fast the fast of Dawood. When he got older, he would fast one day, break his fast the next day. Fast one day, break his fast. When he got older, his eyesight started to fail him, and he felt frail and weak. He said, I wish I would have had more mercy on myself, the way Rasulullah was trying to encourage me not to be rough and tough on myself. So some of them wanted to go overboard. Some of them wanted to be the zuhd to the point where they wanted to castrate themselves. And they went and asked, Ya Rasulullah, can we castrate ourselves? They were ready to castrate themselves in their desire to have a zuhd. Women take you away from the dhikr of Allah. He said, no, this is not our religion. That is the ascetic nature of the people who went before. We didn't write that kind of zuhd on you people. So the person just has to be balanced. He has to be a zahid in the dunya. And that zuhd from the Sufis of the past is from our religion. The zuhd of the Sufis of the past, Al-Junaid, that is from our religion. Afallahu anna wa anhu. That's from our deen. But just don't go overboard. Don't be an ibn dunya, and don't be a ibn of al-ibadah where you go all the way overboard and you make things difficult for yourself. Any more questions, ikhwani? Naam, akhi, tfaddal. Alaykum salam.
Many disbelievers across the world, and they don't understand the purpose of hijab. What simple answer can you give to them for the purpose of hijab?
Obviously, ikhwani, the purpose of the hijab is multifaceted, but one of the main purposes, as you mentioned concerning the disbelievers here, the majority of them are Ahl al-Kitab. Most of them are Ahl al-Kitab. And the Prophet told us about them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, أول fitna Bani Israel kanat fi nisa. The first fitna that Bani Israel had to deal with from their many trials and tribulations was the fitna and the trials that came as a result of women. Their women got out of hand. Their women went into the public and they started to compete with the men in the arena that the nature and the fitrah, the way Allah created men and women, is that the men have their own special arena and the women have their own special arena. That's the way it was supposed to be until the fitna of Bani Israel. Now the woman came out. Now she has these rights. And the issue is mixed up. So from the most important wisdoms behind the hijab is that it is a protection for the woman and is a protection for the man. It is a protection for the woman and a protection for the man. In our last class, the first class about the hijab, we mentioned that Allah told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told the Muslim men, if you ask the wives of Rasulullah for anything, then ask for it from behind the hijab that is purer for your hearts and for their hearts. So it is a sign of purity to separate the people like that and to put partitions between men and women. And now when we look in this society now, when the woman has been stripped and her clothes have been taken off, we see all the fitna and the fasad that has come as a result of that. And the famous model, Ikhwani, who got caught recently doing drugs, and now we see her every day on the newspaper. There are a lot of people who are doing drugs every day and they don't make all of that kalam about it. But the model in this society is an icon or a symbol that they want to keep in the eyes and the minds of the people. And they'll continue to make that thing a big issue because those models, more than anyone else, they help them to try to define for these people how the woman should be. She should be a woman who is loose, she's out, she's showing her body. She's not even real. There's something in the man's imagination. She's anorexic. She's not even supposed to look like that. So, it's purity. Any more questions? Ikhwati fillah? You and then you. Junaid, you have something?
No.
Tfadli ya akhi.
Is the niqab fard, brother?
The niqab, to some of the scholars, is an obligation. To some, it's not an obligation. We'll do with a class, inshallah, sooner to refute or to show why we believe that the niqab is not wajib. There are too many proofs to show that it is not an obligation. But it was wajib upon the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Uthman in his khilafah, he wanted to take some of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Hajj, and he put them in the hodaj or the canopy, and over it was the hijab, so no one can see it. And he said, these are the canopies of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If anyone comes close to it, we're going to deal with you. So there, his wives used to have hijab on, and they used to have the niqab on. Naam, akhi.
What would one say about women reason like the wearing of loose hijab on tradition?
The woman who refuses to wear hijab due to her tradition and her culture, what would we say to her? We just have to give her advice. The brothers who are sitting here, they go back and they fulfill their responsibilities by giving their mothers, their sisters, their wives, their aunties, their cousins advice as it relates to hijab. The brother who just asked the question, Ikhwan, he came to the masjid earlier, and he came to the masjid, as you can see, he's a young brother. He came here to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Someone from our community stole his or took his trainers. He took his trainers. So he has to get back home without his trainers. So be on the lookout as it relates to your children taking the trainers of other children. It happened last week as well. It's being done by Allah knows best who's doing it, but the younger people's trainers are being taken. So what color were they?
Black.
They were black. So maybe someone accidentally took them. If they bring them back, they belong to that young brother. It's the last question. And then this is the last question, because we have people who said they have to go. Nick, if you want to go, you can leave now. Dominic, if you want to go, you can leave now. All right.
Yesterday, Surah Anfal and Tawbah, when you together the longer than Baqarah. I think it's still shorter than Baqarah.
How many surahs is Al-Anfal? And how many ayahs is Al-Anfal and At-Tawbah?
I just checked the pages and it still came short.
The ayahs combined are shorter?
But, yeah.
How many ayahs? Can someone look? Khalid, how many ayat are Suratul Anfal? And how many ayahs are At-Tawbah? Now, last question. Jazakallahu khair.
Many of the disbelievers, as well as in our own community,
75 for Al-Anfal.
Tawbah is 149. Yeah, 149.
Now, that's right. So Suratul Al-Baqarah will still be longer than them if they were together. Now,
many of the disbelievers, as well as our own community, considers wearing hijab as a form of oppression. How does that come about? How can we actually get rid of that?
as for the hijab being a form of oppression against the women, as we mentioned last week, Ikhwani, the woman who wears hijab is liberated because she thinks for herself. And if we went to the Muslim women who are connected to us and they wear correct hijab, if you were to ask any one of them, are you being compelled and forced to wear the hijab? Most of them are going to say, no, I'm wearing the hijab because I want to wear it, and I'm not going to take it off for anyone, not even my husband or my father or my mother. And they are fighting against their relatives to wear it, and no one's forcing them. There are some people who are forcing their women folk to wear the hijab because they're obstinate, and they have to force them. They have to make them, but they are the minority. The majority of the women that we know, they wear the hijab because they love the hijab. It's a part of them. The Muslim woman, and we have a Muslim sister here who is brand new, a Muslim brother here who's brand new. When they make the salat, he doesn't know what is he doing. He may feel funny because he doesn't know what's going on. He's just following the people. Well, we used to feel like that. As it relates to the sister, when she puts the hijab on at the beginning, when she first becomes a Muslim, she feels self-conscious. She thinks that everyone is looking at her. No one's looking at her, but she feels like that. When she walks down the street, she feels her neighbors, everyone's looking at her. But if she keeps on that hijab, after a month, after 2 months, that hijab becomes something that is a part of her, like her shoes. becomes a part of who she is. And if someone were to say, take your hijab off so that I can see you, or take your hijab off so you can work here, she's going to say, I'm not taking my hijab off, because it became a part of who she is. Her heart and her limbs are interconnected. So those people who make that claim, from the basis of the claim, is false. It's false. It's not even true. So the woman who wears hijab is liberated because she's doing other than what the norm is saying, what the people think is norm. It's for her to show her beauty. She says, no, I'm going to be different from that, and I'm going to show my individualism, and I'm going to wear the hijab and cover myself up. So we dispel that myth by saying something like that. Okay, ikhwani, we're going to stop here, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.